What the What is wrong? here. I just had to fool around with some settings. Sorry, guys. Welcome to the show. Hope everyone is having a great day. I'm just gonna start to set up some of my ingredients, so just hold tight. Hello, Steph. How are you? Hope everyone is super excited to make some ramen with me today. It's my first time. I'm just going to go grab some ingredients. Just gonna be ripping around here for the first little bit. Leeks, carrots, ginger. We're gonna be using some dried mushrooms today. That's kind of cool. And some kelp. We're gonna get turned up with a little sake. Got our noodles. It's still not Mr. Noodles. I've had these ones for a while and they're super good. I don't really care that they're gluten-free, but they are. So that's always good to know. And I just have to grab my massive soup pot. We're definitely gonna need that. Here's one. Set that one aside. Here's our other big one. The same one we did the chili in the other day. Just need to grab corn and then we're pretty much ready to go. Okie dokes. Just turn the music down a notch. Alright, Steph, are you ready to get cooking? It's you and me so far. So I bet the first thing that came to your mind when I said making ramen was like Mr. Noodles or Ichiban or some kind of cheap noodle. But we're not using any like $1.99 packs of ramen today. We're gonna try and make as much stuff as we can from scratch. The only thing I'm not making from scratch today is the noodles. And these are a little bit different. So these are made with millet and brown rice. And I got these from Costco. I'm sure you could find them somewhere else. And these only take 4 minutes to cook. So we're just gonna drop those in the broth like right before we go to serve the ramen. So those can just chill back there for like the next 3 hours. We're not gonna need them right away. So we're making a more expensive version of ramen, but it's also the more proper way. And it's gonna taste really delicious. And we are making this soup today because it is actually pretty nutritious. Using all like the whole chicken and the pork really gives you lots of good nutrients from the bones. And then for anyone who's gone out to eat ramen before, you probably know there's like, I think 5 or 6 different types of broth that you can choose from. And my favorite one is chicken, so that's what we're gonna be making today. And we wanna get this broth going right away because you want it to go for at least like 3 hours before you even eat your soup. Like you wanna get as much flavor in there as possible. And honestly, most places, their broth is like days upon weeks upon months old and they just keep adding to it. So mine's probably not going to be that good today, but I'm definitely going to try and see where I end up because I've eaten at quite a few ramen places before, really good ones. And I just want to see my comparison and see how hard or easy it was to make it at home. So I'm basing my recipe today off of 2 different recipes I found online. One is the tonkatsu ramen broth from Serious Eats. So go ahead and Google that if you want to just kind of look it over. That's supposed to be like a really rich and thick pork broth. It's super fatty, but I didn't want to go like all pork. I wanted to keep mine mostly chicken. So I just used the methods from that broth more than the ingredients. And the second recipe I based my ramen off of today is the momofuku ramen recipe, which is more adapted for American cuisine. So first thing I'm gonna do is go over the ingredients for today. I'm gonna start with the broth. So I am using 1 whole chicken, and then I got a bunch of like chicken backs from the grocery store. So that's a really good like thing to use to get a lot of flavor in if you don't have whole chicken. So always just look for chicken pieces. Preferably something with the skin on, because you want all that fat to get into the broth. And then you could also use pork belly or pork shoulder. I'm using shoulder today. And we're just gonna braise that a little bit until it's tender, and should get all the flavor out within an hour. And usually ramen has onions in the broth, but I have some really nice leeks that I'm gonna use today. So that'll give like a nice lighter flavor compared to harsh onion. And this is not traditional in ramen broth, but I have a couple carrots that I'm gonna put in as well, just for some sweetness. And I got my ginger here. All of this is gonna go in. I wanna get all of that flavor in there. And then next thing was these awesome dried shiitake mushrooms that I found. This bag was $11, so super cheap for like the type of mushroom and how many there are in here. We're not gonna use this all. I'm only gonna use about 12 of them. And then 4 pieces of kombu or kelp or seaweed, any kind that you want to choose is fine. That's gonna give that nice salty flavor in there and a little bit more earthy as well. And then we're gonna just do water to cover that. I'm not gonna measure out the water ahead of time. You just want it to cover the stuff in the pot. So before I even started my stream today, I roasted my chicken for about an hour in the oven. And that was just the backs. And that'll give a lot of nice flavor, because roasting your bones before you make a stock is like pretty much just caramelizing the fats and proteins. And anytime you brown something, it's always gonna have a much deeper flavor than if you don't. So I did that ahead of time just so we can get the broth going right away. So always keep that in mind before you start. And first thing I'm gonna do before I even put the broth in or the chicken in is I'm gonna start browning the pork shoulder in the bottom of the pot. So I'm just gonna turn that on to, let's say, medium high. I'll go into the history of the dish a little bit later after we get the broth going and stuff. This is my pork here. It's just cubed up. You shouldn't have to put any fat into your pot to fry the pork up. There should be enough fat inside of the pork. And that'll just crisp up really nice. And that way we can deglaze the bottom of the pan after with the water and get all those really good crispy bits off. Then the next thing we have to do is prep our veg. So I just gotta peel the carrots and chop them roughly. handy dandy wooden spoon. Just spread that out in the pot to cover the bottom. There's a really nice amount of fat in there, so it definitely should not stick. I don't even think it's gonna splash, so I can leave that off. You can leave the carrot and the leek in pretty big pieces. So we're gonna be boiling this or simmering it for 3 hours. So either way, it's gonna break down pretty fast. Most vegetable flavor in soups is into the broth, like cooked in within an hour. So just keep that in mind. Soups don't have to cook that long. And then I'm only gonna use 1.5 of the leeks. And this little part I'm gonna use for a garnish for the soup later on. So save that. And then also make sure to wash your leeks before you use them because there's usually quite a bit of sand stuck in between the leaves. Okay, leeks are all washed. How's this pork doing? You can just put that veg into a bowl while we wait for the pork to brown up. So I cut the leek into like this long of chunks. Should be fine. You could also roast the leeks and carrots up before too if you wanted a little bit of a darker broth. And then next thing we're gonna do is just peel the ginger. I like to use the back of a paring knife. You could use a peeler if you want as well. Whatever you desire. Then we're just gonna cut that into slices. So that's all good. I have to say, it's a pretty easy broth to get together. You just need enough time for it to cook out and get all the flavor into it. The pork is sizzling now. If it sticks to the pan a little bit. All of that stuff's gonna come off when we add the water anyways. Another thing I just grabbed out was some miso paste. Super rich and salty fermented soybean paste. That'll give a really nice depth to our broth as well, but I'm not gonna put it in till it's strained out later. Just because it is really salty and we don't wanna overpower the broth right away. So there's our veg all nicely cut up and put aside. Just gonna crack out some mushrooms. These little guys, if you just wanna like eat them on their own or like in a pasta dish or something, just pour some hot water over them and let them steep for like 5 to 10 minutes and they should puff back up. They're super handy to have around the house though, and they're definitely not expensive. So I'm gonna use about 2 cups of those. Stir in our pork around. It's looking good. I'm just gonna start filling a pitcher with water just to get ready. This is gonna come together pretty quickly. And then if you want a more clear broth, do your starting of the soup with cold water. That way there won't be any impurities and it won't make it cloudy. So if you use hot water, you won't get as clear of a broth. Just a little pointer. Just turning up the tunes there for us. Next thing is to get your kelp out, or seaweed, also known as kombu. If you're like me, you can get this grown locally, which is awesome. So you can see the salt crystals on this stuff. It's like shiny. So that's why we're not adding any salt at all in the beginning. You always want to season your ramen broth after. So I took out about 6 of those leaves. And then we have a little bit left to garnish with after. I'll slice those really thin. Okay. Getting some browning action in here now. We're almost there. just gonna grab the roasted chicken out of the oven. It's been chilling there since I started. And I put parchment down just to save whatever juices was left on the pan. That should all go in your pot. And it's probably gonna be mostly chicken fat, but that's okay. You could skim it off after if you want, or leave it in. Like, ramen broths are super rich and fatty. I have one more pan. Yeah, there's a ton of fat on there. It's gonna be good. Ramen's definitely like not healthy. Hello, Vaders! But it makes you feel really good after you eat it. I think that's why I love eating it all the time. If you want like a healthy Asian soup, I would definitely go with the Vietnamese like pho. The broth is a lot thinner. Ramen! Woohoo! Have you guys had ramen before? Did they have that in London? That is a nasty bubbling pot. Like, look at all the fat down there. Okay, so I'm gonna throw in my veg next. Looks good. And just be careful when you add the liquid, because there's so much fat in there, it might splash up a bit. Yum, I'm so jealous. I'm pretty sure I'm having like withdrawals for like the past month since I left Vancouver. So we're just gonna cover that stuff with water. We don't want to add any extra. It didn't splash up at all, so that wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. I just need a little bit more water in there. And then we're gonna prep the soy marinated eggs. Okay. Gonna toss my kelp in. And the shiitakes, the dried ones. Give that a stir or push it down. And this is gonna simmer for an hour. And And then after that, I'm gonna check it and take the little pieces of pork out. Hopefully they didn't break up too much. Oh my gosh. I know, I think this ramen, or this broth is gonna be really nice. I don't know, kind of just researched a couple of different recipes and saw what other people did and then made my own variation. I love to do that. Yeah, I need to go to Tokyo. I would just like OD on soup there, I'm sure. I know some people also have like boiled their ramen broths, but I want mine to stay pretty clear. Especially because we're gonna add a bunch of miso after, so that's gonna make it pretty milky and creamy. Did you ever get any food out of the vending machine? I just grabbed my eggs out of the fridge. I'm only gonna do 6 today. But I guess if you want to do like a bunch to stay in the fridge, you could definitely double the recipe. The soy eggs are so good as a snack, like anytime. And then first thing I'm gonna do is just grab a bowl to hold our eggs and also the marinade. Oh, that sounds good. Corn soup in a can. I'm sure it's delicious. Like, I definitely have nothing against that. It's brilliant. And very handy, because like everyone works so much there that they're always on the go, and there's a lot of quick things to eat around all the time. It's great. Yum. Okay, so eggs. These are gonna take at least 2 hours to marinate, and you can marinate them up to 6 hours. So that's why I'm doing them next in order, because I want them to get a really good marinade on them before we eat our ramen later. 3 hours is usually enough time to like make anything from scratch, whether it's pasta or soup or bread. I feel like this is a good timeline for me. So our marinade is 6 tablespoons of water, 2 tablespoons of vinegar. I'm doing like a sherry kind of vinegar. You could do red wine or cider or even a rice vinegar, I'm sure is fine. And then 3/4 of a cup of soy sauce. So that's where like all of our salt and flavor is gonna come from. And a tablespoon of sugar just to sweeten them up a bit. Hey Snare, what's going on today? I just put the broth on. So I'll just let you know what I put in it first. And then the next thing we're gonna do is make the soy marinated eggs, because those need at least 2 hours to sit before we cut into them. We want a nice dark brown color on the outside, so hopefully it works. So broth, I kind of just did my own little recipe, but I think it's looking really good so far. So I got a bunch of chicken backs from the grocery store, which I think are really great to use because there's quite a bit of bones in there, but there's also like a lot of fat in the skin. So that's something really good to use. You could also use a whole chicken and break it up. And then I also have some pork shoulder in there. So I sauteed that in the pan before I put everything else in. Got it pretty nice and browned. I just wanted to build a bunch of flavor on the bottom of the pan before I put the water in. Another option is pork belly. So anything fatty you can use. It's gonna be a really rich stock. And then 1.5 leeks just chopped up roughly, 2 carrots for some sweetness, about a 3-inch nub of ginger that I sliced up, some dried shiitakes, which you can see floating there still, and then a couple of pieces of seaweed and just some water to cover. Hopefully I didn't go through that too fast, but let me know, and I can also send you the recipe. That is no problem. So I'm gonna get my egg marinade done first, and also get the water to start boiling. So get a pot big enough to boil 6 eggs in. I think this guy should be good. And we're gonna boil our water before we put the eggs in. This is my version of doing boiled eggs. I know there's a bunch of different ways, but I find this is the most consistent way to do it. So you can get that on the stove to heat up while you're making the marinade. That way you're not wasting any time anywhere. So I need my soy sauce, vinegar, and sugar. I did not think I had any mirin or like Chinese cooking wine, but I just found it, so I'm super happy. We can use that to season the ramen later. Ooh, I'm jelly you had a massage. Well, you haven't missed much yet, Foof. Message me if you want the recipe for the broth and I can send it your way. I think I want to use rice vinegar for the eggs. It just makes sense. I'm still trying to find the soy sauce. Oh. I was definitely looking in the wrong shelf. Haha. I really want to give this a stir right now. I don't know why. It feels right. Honestly, it smells really good already. I'm excited to see this transform. Okay, so 3/4 of a cup of soy sauce. I might have to run out and grab some of the Braggs. Oh yeah, massages, like, you gotta push your limits. Let them beat you up. I'm sure you guys have all heard of the Bragg liquid aminos, so I'm gonna use that in the eggs as well. And then just a couple tablespoons of vinegar of your choice. And then 6 tablespoons of water. My pot is almost simmering. So as soon as it starts to come to a really good simmer, I'm gonna turn it down. We don't wanna boil it because that's gonna make our broth really cloudy. I mean, you could, there's other variations, but I'm doing this one my own way. And you'll want to add your water hot to this marinade just so you can dissolve the sugar into it. Good, I'm just gonna give that a mix. Okay, so you can see that's all happy now. Probably turn it down to like 3.5. And that's just gonna bubble away. And then you're gonna wanna transfer this marinade into a container so that it's gonna fully cover all of your eggs. So I think I'm just gonna use this little guy. Make sure all of that sugar is dissolved beforehand. Okay, that's all happy. And then you can leave the soy sauce out because we're gonna season the broth with that later on. Just putting my eggs into a bowl here so that they're ready for when our water boils. And then the next thing I'm gonna do while I'm waiting is get some of the garnishes together. That way they're ready to go when our broth and our noodles are all cooked. So garnishes today, I'm doing our marinated eggs. And some of you might have missed this, but these are the noodles that I'm using. So they're a millet and rice ramen. I've used them before. They don't go mushy or anything, so that's why I'm using them again. They're really great. Hello, Anies. Welcome. How are you doing today? And then this is a traditional thing to put in ramen is corn. I find it kind of funny, but we're gonna put some of that in. I guess it just adds a little bit of sweetness, if anything. And I saved this little bit of leek. We're gonna char that a bit and slice it really fine later for a garnish. And then something that I really love to put on top of my ramen is garlic chips, or like fried garlic crushed up. So I have this stuff left over, and that's going to be used later. Another thing that they typically serve ramen with is sesame seeds that are roasted and some like Japanese chili flakes. I think they're called gochugaru if you're ever looking for them. But you could use regular chili flakes as well, just these are a lot more mild. So all of those ones are ready to go. And I also have to chop up some of this kelp. I'm gonna chop that pretty fine. I'm gonna hope that it doesn't just like flake apart, but we'll see. Let's see what's gonna happen. No onions today, sir. Just leeks. Just leeks. You guys will be waiting a while, just saying. It's actually not breaking up too bad. That's good. So just do nice little slices, and then pretty much as soon as you put these into the broth, they're gonna soften up right away. That's like the one healthy thing going in here. Something green for digestion, I guess. It said you can also fry these and like make kelp chips. I know, there's a leak in the kitchen. Yeah, it's just cigar wrapper. Pure umami flavor right there. That seaweed was really salty. Weird. Weird. Oh, that smells good already, guys. I'm not just saying that either. I don't tell lies. Yum. Cuban ramen. Then we'd have to put cheese in it. Okay, so yesterday I was browsing some of the IRLs on Twitch, and like this chick was literally cooking in her underwear. I was like, I can't. I will not stoop to that point just to get followers. What up, Neko? Vote for underwear. No, there's no polls. It's not gonna happen. So I'm just gonna wash this little part of the leek right now. And I think we can char the leek just like over the gas burner. I know, the spoon holder is great. So handy. Shima pan. Yeah, it is. Dried shiitakes. I think I'm doing it right. I think so. Like, it smells pretty on point already. And it hasn't even been an hour. Our pork is already getting tender, which is awesome. Turn that guy back up. So our water is boiling for our eggs now. This is a really important part. I have to go grab my phone to get a timer. We're doing 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Oh, garlic would be good too. I never even thought about that. Weird. So 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And we should have like really nice custardy yolks inside still. Handy dandy timer here. And then while the eggs are boiling, definitely get like an ice bath or cold water going. Yeah, aliens. Ooh, the lights just flickered. What's going on out there? If you're scared of breaking your eggs when you drop them in the water, just use tongs to put them in. Okay, those are all happy. Yeah, she's freaking out because it's her dinner time. She's hilarious. Every day, the same routine. So make sure your timer is started now. You don't want to overcook our eggs. I like mixing like all the goopy yolk into the ramen broth. It's super good. Yeah. She's upset for sure. I'm just gonna build my water bath in this little bowl. If you don't have any ice, you could also just run cold water over the eggs for like a good 2 minutes at least. Spy Kids too. Shiitake! Okay, maybe I'll add some garlic. That's actually a really good idea. Let's do it. I'm gonna do 5 cloves. Thank you for the follow, Neko. One person closer to my 50. That was a good movie. Smash. Needs more leek. Yeah, you gotta hype that garlic. Good in almost anything. I'm not adding too much though, because we're still gonna garnish with like our fried garlic. And that stuff is pretty potent. While we're waiting, we can try and char our leeks. Apparently smell-o-vision is a thing, and they just like put random scents into your TV and it sprays it out. Definitely not the same. I've never done this on the stovetop yet, so I don't know how it's gonna work. But I've seen it on TV a couple of times. Ah! It's scary. Two more minutes on the eggs. Oh, it's doing stuff. No fires. I don't want any fires today. Once the one side is charred, we can flip it over. Or just like take the pieces off as they char, that's cool too. And then you can just layer them up after and we'll just chop them really nice and thin. Maybe this way would work better. Yeah. It's actually working really well. I've only ever done this on a grill before. It's working. Man, I always make it up as I go. That's the best part. I just make my own recipes. Yeah. Stir it up. Oh God. I'm scared. Okay, quick pause. Because we need to get these eggs out ASAP. You want to stop them from cooking as soon as possible. Guys, am I lagging again? Don't take leaks on the grill. Okay, I'm gonna go put the music back on since my timer is good. Alright, back to this craziness. It's working pretty good. If you want to get your leeks a little bit more tender before you serve them, you could also wrap them in saran and they'll just steam a little bit. No, I want ramen. Yeah, the leeks. I gotta turn the fan up a sec. I'm getting yelled at. It smells like burning. It's always hilarious cooking at home instead of a professional kitchen. I forget about some of these things. You can definitely put bacon in your ramen. That was actually in one of the recipes I looked at. That'd be super good. Hey, we're almost there. You can grab a bowl for those as well. And then after I chop those, I can probably peel the eggs and put them into marinate. A lot of people like to do peppers this way on their stove, but I think it would taste like way too gassy. Give this guy another stir. So it's almost been going for an hour now. All the mushrooms have soaked up the liquid. And we're gonna chop on those guys. Okay, Anies. Have a great day, dude. Thanks for stopping by again. It's always good to see you in here. I also think this is a really good way to like use up the green part of the leek because it makes it not as tough Most people just throw that part out. And I didn't have any green onions, so this was my version of those. The first time I did charred leeks was for a pizza, actually. We made a fennel sausage from scratch with pork and then pickled garlic, which was really good. And that was the base of the pizza, was the pickled garlic spread. And then we also did some garlicky spinach and threw in the charred leeks in there. Just kind of spread everything out over the pizza. Really, really good. And then after it's cooked, we finished it with a chili garlic oil. So, there's those guys. Couple of little charred spots, but the rest of it's really nice and tender now. Thank you, sir. It's my fave. It's my baby. Now it's egg peeling time. Let's just pray that these all peel nicely. I always hate when you peel like half of the egg off. It actually made me really mad one time that I went online and actually looked up what made the eggs usually like stick to the shell. And it's actually better to use older eggs instead of fresh ones. That way, I think it's called the albumin, like that little skin in between the egg and the shell, that kind of comes off. You can tell like how soft these are still. They're nice and squishy. So just keep that in mind when you're boiling eggs. Make sure they're a little bit older. Well, eggs keep for like up to a month in the fridge. So anything over a week, let's say. And I know you Europeans keep your eggs not in the fridge. So that's definitely up to you. It was like the weirdest thing to me when I was first in France. Went to the grocery store. I was like looking everywhere for eggs in the dairy section until I realized like they were on the end of one of the shelves, just sitting out in the open. And then I realized that no one in Europe puts their eggs in the fridge. So this guy definitely did not peel nicely, but that's okay. We'll still eat it anyways. I'm gonna taste the ramen broth after this, I think. I need to. Guess I can put this little guy up here for you guys to see. Oh, almost put my finger through it. And then these eggs can keep in the fridge up to a month. So they're really handy to keep around for snacks. But don't marinate them for more than 6 hours. Then they'll just get way too salty. Ah! Don't break on me. Okay, so this one broke open a little bit, but you can like see how perfect the yolk is inside. This is a task that I usually just like zone out to. I don't know why. Something just repetitive. It's relaxing, kind of. And then I've been rinsing the eggs off every time too before I put them into the marinade. I hate biting down on a shell when I'm eating eggs. Like that just ruins everything for me. The last guy does not want to cooperate. So that's actually perfect. So we want all of those to stay submerged. And if it doesn't stay submerged, just feel free to like roll them around every hour or so, just to flip them over. And I'm gonna put those in the fridge actually. Well, that was pretty easy. Now it's broth time. Let's see where we're at. It's a really nice golden color already. I have to say that. Smells pretty proper as well. There's no single flavor that is overpowering any other one. So I think I did good. Because I don't want it to be too gingery or too oniony, right? I was gonna take the pork out at this point, but it's not quite tender enough. So I'm gonna leave that in for probably quite a bit more, just until it's tender. I might not even be able to take it out. So we might have to pick that out after I strain it, which is fine. But it has given a lot of a nice flavor so far. So back to garnishes. So I did the eggs. I have my noodles there ready to go. Did my leeks and the garlic chips are there. So next thing, all I have to do is grab my corn, which I have frozen corn. You could use fresh as well. Just make sure you cook it a little bit before you put it in your soup. Good old Green Giant. I'm gonna do 2 cups of corn. So that'll be like half a cup per person. I think that'll be enough. Just run some cold water over that in the sink. And then that's done as well. Everyone's still there, chilling out, having fun watching the broth bubble. We got our corn all nicely broken up. We're looking good, guys. One thing I am going to do is just put these mushrooms away. And then after this, I'm gonna go through a little bit of ramen history with you guys since we have time while the stock is going. It's pretty interesting, I have to say. Then I guess while you're waiting, you could also get a strainer set up with your other pot that you're going to need. The ramen is super good. It's like a little bit gingery. Like you just taste everything, but it's really balanced. So ginger, leeks, the pork, the chicken, like there was so much chicken fat that came off the bones when I roasted them. And it is actually a little bit sweet from the carrots too. So I got a really nice fine strainer here that I'm gonna use to strain it. It's okay. I always like to set my strainer up in the sink, just in case I spill anything, at least there's something to catch it. So, ramen stuffs, let's talk about it. Now that all of our stuff is ready, that wasn't that bad at all. It's 4:20 right now. So some of you already probably know that it's a Japanese dish, but it actually originates from China. Weird, I know. I didn't know that either until I was looking that up today. I am not adding any sesame oil yet, but we can definitely pull some out just in case someone wants to use that as garnish. That's really good too. But that stuff is super strong, so always be careful how much you use of it. You don't want your whole bowl of soup to just taste like sesame, I guess. So it's actually from China, and that's why you'll find a lot of restaurants using the Chinese style like wheat noodles instead of the hand-pulled version with the alkaline, which are the yellow ones. And like you guys have already seen, the ramen soup is generally made from a stock based on chicken or pork. I did a little bit of both today, mostly chicken though. I don't have any pork bones, so you won't get a huge porky flavor out of there. And then other ingredients used, so some of them I used, some I didn't, is kelp or seaweed, katsuobushi or bonito, which are dried tuna flakes. I don't have any of those, so that's okay. But you will find some broths are like really fishy, so that's what they used in there. And dried mushrooms, onions, and soy sauce. So I hit pretty much all the basics, but I'm still putting my own spin on it. Most noodles are made from just wheat flour, salt, and water. And like I said, some use the special alkaline mineral water, and that colors it yellow and also makes the noodles quite firm. I don't like those kind of noodles. Like, I don't like that flavor at all. I tried it a couple times and it's never grown on me yet. I just like the hand-pulled ones that are usually white or a little bit darker brown in color. The fun part about going out to eat ramen is that you can really personalize your soup with all of the different toppings. So those include chashu, which is usually thin sliced braised pork or a barbecue pork. Super tender and fatty, and that's really good to mix into your soup. I usually get a couple extra pieces. Scallions or leeks, so I'm using leeks today. Scallions are a little bit stronger in flavor, I think, but I guess they soak up the broth really nicely and get soft. So that's why those are used. Seasoned boiled egg, so yeah, we did that. Bean sprouts or any other different kinds of sprouts. And bamboo shoots. Didn't have any of those today, but I've definitely eaten ramen with those. They're really nice and tender. Just give like a different texture to the dish, I guess. And then corn butter, which you can actually order like extra butter or pork fat to pour into your ramen if you like it really rich. I find that is awesome. I guess if that's like the only meal you're eating, you want to make it really nice and rich. So that makes sense. And then it's also common to serve your ramen with chili flakes and sesame, so I pulled those out too. And then it wasn't until 1958 that instant ramen noodles were invented by a guy named Momofuku Ando. This was actually dubbed the greatest Japanese invention of the 20th century. And they didn't come to America until 1971. So it's actually a relatively new thing. It's really cool. And those were like the first cup of noodles, is what they were called. So yeah, for cheap ramen, that was the one way that everyone around the world could eat ramen in a really fast way, because all you have to do is add boiled water to it. Makes sense. But Momofuku to me is a reference to a really popular noodle bar opened by David Chang. I don't know if any of you have heard of that chef. One of my favorite. He opened those in 2004. And I don't know if they're based on like Momofuku Ando when he brought the cheap ramen to the US, but he likes to put his own spin on things for sure. Like Chang's passion for food is something that I look up to dearly. I still remember getting the Momofuku cookbook in culinary school, and I'm pretty sure I read it front to back in like the same night. It's really interesting. He does his own ramen recipe in there, and he also makes the baos, like the really fluffy buns filled with pork belly usually. With that being said, I was actually able to visit one of his noodle bars in Vegas last September, and it did not disappoint. It was good from start to finish, the service was great, and I only had a bao. I didn't get any soup because we ate about like 4 different restaurants per day. We just went to Vegas to eat. So we just popped in there real quick, had a couple of baos, and then went on our way for our next food adventure. And now I'm going to shed a little bit of light on Vancouver ramen shops before we go back and taste our stock. So my first ramen experience, like a proper one, was in 2015 at a place called Marutama, which is my favorite. They do chicken ramen. It's been the best one yet. And they're known for their chicken broth and their tender pork. So they do chashu, and they also do a seasoned pork belly. Really, really good. They get like a really nice 5-spice, I guess, flavor on there. And this place has a 4.6 rating out of 5 with almost 700 reviews now. It's a super popular place. And it's honestly always packed when we go. There's at least 10 people lined up outside, and you just put your name on the list. And then as people leave, you can go in. Like, ramen shops are not a place to go in and dine for hours. They're meant to be a quick get in and get out. But the bowl is super satisfying, so it's no problem to eat that fast. One of the coolest things in there is they have a noodle pulling machine, which you can watch it work and pull the noodles as you eat. Really, really cool. And this place does like the really thin white noodles. I'm guessing it's just wheat, water, and salt. They're really simple, and they're not really firm either. And this bowl of awesomeness will set you back 18 bucks. But if you order like a side order of noodles, which Vader's, I'm sure you know. Yep, we went there, Mamacita. Like an extra noodle is only $1.50. So if you don't eat all of your soup, you can put those noodles in and take the rest of it home for lunch the next day. Then you had 2 meals for 10 bucks. So always make sure you do that when you go out to eat. That's like my favorite thing to say in the restaurant. Is I still know the saying, it's kaidama. And then they just bring you out a fresh bowl of noodles. Great. And by now I'm sure you guys have realized how important the broth is in ramen. Like, there's a lot of love and care put into it. I think that is probably the most important part of the dish, is building all your flavors in there. And like I said earlier, most shops, they keep their broth simmering day and night, and then just adjust the different ingredients each day to keep it well seasoned. So I'm sure some places have had their broth going for years, I bet. So there's no way that you're going to be able to develop that flavor in 3 hours. It's just not going to happen. So I'm not trying to compete with any of those places, but I'm just going to take my own stab at it because I love eating ramen and I've never made it from home yet. And that is all of our ramen history. I found that pretty interesting. Do you guys have like a favorite ramen broth that you usually go out to eat? I really like the one called Sakumen, when you get the noodles on the side and then your cup of broth is like really nice and thick and you dip it in. Yeah, first ramen from home. I've eaten quite a few though, so I know what kind of flavors that I want. It's definitely not going to be as thick though as I want it to be, because this would probably have to go for at least 12 hours to get it really nice and rich. Yeah, tonkatsu is really good too. That's also the other one I usually get. What else have I gotten? I've tried my friend's like miso broth because she's vegetarian. That one was really good too. A little bit more salty, but she likes to put corn in, so it helps to cut the salt out a lot. Okay, I feel like I want to check our stock again. And then something else I'm gonna do today after I strain the stock is I'm gonna still put a whole chicken in there. Like, I'm pretty much just gonna poach the chicken in there and then I'm gonna pull all the meat off after. And my people are on their way home, I guess. So I can get this show on the road. I'm gonna try this broth one more time. It is getting a little bit darker every time, so that is all right. And I hate burning my tongue. It's good, guys. It's not salty at all yet, so I know once I add a bunch of salt, it's really gonna boost up the flavor. Gotta be patient though. Let's see if our pork is tender. I know that's all stuck at the bottom right now. The Greek was so good yesterday, and I had it for lunch again today. Really, really good. The pitas are still super fluffy. I was actually thinking of doing a different variation of the pitas I made yesterday, doing like a sweet breakfast version with cranberries and orange zest in it. So I would mix those in when the dough is mixing in the mixer. I think that would be really, really good. And Mamacita says dipped in honey. I agree with this statement. So, tasting the pork. It's actually tender. So I'm gonna take the broth off and strain it. That way I can start reducing it and getting it a lot more thick. It's been going for an hour and a half now. So most of the chicken flavor should already be out. And definitely all of the vegetable flavor is in there. Yeah, those pitas, I am making those again for sure. They were so easy. you guys can see like how concentrated the stock actually is from that like huge pot of meat and veg. I've only gotten like 4 portions here, which is exactly what I'm looking for. That's why we didn't add too much water at the beginning. So that can go back on to like 3 or 4. Ding! And now I'm just gonna put my whole chicken in there. I didn't brown it at all or anything. It's just gonna add a bunch of extra flavor. Hey Flexerd, really good to see you today. We've missed you the past few days. How's it going? We're almost there. So I just strained the ramen. Here, I'll try and show you the remnants of it. In that pot. So like our pot was pretty much full. And then I only got out that like 4 portions of stock, which is all I wanted anyways. And then our soy eggs are in the fridge. Maybe I should give those a little roll around while we're waiting. They've already absorbed quite a bit of flavor, or quite a bit of color. Yeah, you'll see when I roll them over in just a sec. These are gonna be good. So that's how dark they've already gotten on the underneath part. Mmm. A shrimp ramen stock, that'd be good too. Those eggs are going back in. What's up? I'm gonna put it in there. Get a bit, give it way more flavor. And then I'll just pull it after. It'll be super tasty for salads or whatever. So whole chicken is here. And I'm just gonna pop that in. I'm gonna leave the breasts up and out just so they don't dry out too much. That was just extra sitting around, so I wanted to just cook that up, and I know there's a lot of flavor in the broth, so that'll be really good when I pull it. Be good in anything, sandwiches, salads. Yum. That sounds so good. Yeah, the egg is so easy to make. I can't believe how dark it is after like not even an hour. I'm pumped. Haven't had ramen in like over a month. Feel like I'm fading away. While we wait, I think I'm gonna pick through this like strained pot of goodness and see if I can find any of those pork bits. Gonna go into a separate one. Keeping myself busy over here. And I think I'm just gonna put some disposable gloves on while I do this. That way I won't burn my hands and I can just sift through instead of trying to use tongs. And to be honest, I don't even know if this chicken is gonna cook all the way by the time we eat. But I'm definitely gonna get a nice poach on it first. And if I have to, I'll just finish it in the oven. I'm not scared. I was also thinking about maybe taking some of that soy marinade out and tossing the pork into it. I feel like that would be really good. We got all sorts of stuff in here. I'm definitely gonna have to try ramen with like a 12-hour stock one day. Do a good comparison for myself. But I wanted to do the first time with all of you guys. I feel like I'm digging for gold. So I don't want this to really boil. Just a nice little simmer. Chicken's just chilling in its ramen bath for a bit. Monaco, how's your day? I think I'm gonna crisp up these little pork bits in a pan and then put them back into the ramen. Because why would that be a bad thing? Seaweed got huge, by the way. I did not think it would be that big. All right. It's like a blanket. You should totally make ramen at home one time, Monaco. It's super easy. If you want, I can send you the recipe after. But I think you would love it. Super good to just like put the broth in the freezer. And that way all you have to do is boil your noodles in it and it's good to go. Okay, I think I almost have all the pork here. Yeah, for sure. It'll be up on here and up on my YouTube after. I started the broth right away, so you don't have to like fast forward through anything at the beginning. Okay. I think I found all of my gold in here. Sweet. Now, I'm totally gonna get out some of that soy marinade and toss the pork in it. So Monaco, these are our soft boiled soy marinated eggs. It's just soy sauce, a little bit of vinegar and sugar, and some water. Really easy. Hopefully this pork soaks in some of that flavor. And we're gonna fry it up and make it really nice and crispy to put on top of the ramen. Give that a little toss around. Pork's already turning darker. That's awesome. Soak up all this goodness. Yum. I'm just gonna fry this in like a nonstick or a cast iron pan. Yeah, or you can come and cook with me. We can do whatever you want. It'll be fun. Yeah, those eggs are super good. They're like pretty salty on the outside, but really nice and custardy in the middle. This guy right here. And then the eggs will stay in the fridge for up to a month. So they're really good to have around for snacks. I'm gonna go on medium-high heat here. I'm gonna take a peek at this chicken in its bath right now. I'm probably going to like assemble everything as soon as my people get here. So if I need to, I'll just bake the chicken in the oven until it's done later. It's no problem. Yeah, I know, up to a month. It's pretty weird, hey? But I guess this soy sauce like preserves it. Whenever I went for ramen, I would always see like these huge jars of eggs just marinated in the fridge. Ever since then, I've always wanted to make them at home. I didn't think it would be this easy. We don't have chopsticks, do we? We don't have chopsticks. What? It's gonna be weird to eat ramen with a fork. That means we don't get enough takeout sushi here. Yeah. I guess if you guys wanted to put the mushroom in, you could slice that pretty thin as well as a garnish. It wouldn't be bad. Like, it's already cooked and it's really nice and soft. It'll just taste a lot like the broth, I think. Mamacita is just like over in front of me, chilling out. Not drinking any wine yet. Okay, our pan is hot, so we can fry the pork. And these juices are gonna be going in here. Come on. Yeah, it is smelling really good already. I'm just going to use my tongs to kind of toss that around. And get my noodles out while I wait. Monaco, these noodles you can get at Costco. They're super good. And they're gluten-free. They're pretty good size. They definitely fill up a bowl when you boil them. So I would only do one per person. How is this? Nothing crazy happening yet. I know, we need smell-o-vision. How is this not a thing yet?
Well, it is.
Let's go, technology. The one downside to cooking shows. Oh. Smells really good. Like sweet and soy saucy. I guess you could have also poured some of the soy sauce on the pork when it's raw and then just like slowly roast it in the oven to make it really nice and tender. That's a good option as well. do this big, I think, from the pot. Yeah, it was actually pretty nice out today. Went for a good walk, got some sunshine.
You want me to do this?
Sure.
Everything from here?
Whatever liquid is left though, I'll take it over here.
Okay.
You guys see that like little bit of sticking on there? That's okay. After we take the pork out, I'm just gonna ladle some broth in and deglaze the pan and then pour it back in because that's all really good flavor that we want. Pardon?
You want more meat if I find it? No.
And I'm just pulling out this tray. Hello, Name Chef. What is up? Welcome to our Wellness Wednesday. We're making homemade ramen today. Make us feel really good inside.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh? Yeah. Way less trolls. Those are my onion fiends. They're not here today though because I didn't use any onions. Are you streaming today as well? Getting crispy. And I love all of this stuff stuck to the bottom of the pan. Yum. Oh no, I was fine. Cool. Yeah, I'm used to the crazy boys always working in a kitchen for 7 years will do that to you because there's not usually too many girls. What are you making tomorrow? I have to try this. It smells too good. Yum. I could probably live off of burgers, just saying. I made burgers last Friday. Brioche buns from Fresh. Really good patties. Hey, our pork is good. I'm just gonna bring this pan up to show you guys. Woohoo! Hello. Try and scrape all of those really good crispy bits off. That'll give you really good texture when you eat your ramen. And then next thing is grab a ladle and just pour some of the broth into there. And that should lift any other bits off the pan. And we're gonna pour that back into our stock. That sounds delicious. I love pickled onions. Are you doing red ones?
I was watching.
Actually,
There's a little bit more.
scrape your pan off. And then we're gonna pour that into here. Super good. We're one step closer. With bacon, of course. It's a must. If you want to, you can. Do it up. And then I had this little bit of broth left over from my straining stuff, so I'm gonna pour that in as well. We're not wasting any flavor here. And then you know what? I'm just gonna flip this chicken over. Try not to splash yourself. Yay. We're gonna let that go for maybe 15 minutes more. And then I'm gonna start cooking the noodles. I am new, so this is my second week now. I had a lot of fun last week, and I am halfway to the followers I need for my affiliate, so I'm feeling really good about that. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check out the other cooking streamers on here. But so far, it's a lot of fun. Really different from cooking in restaurants. You kind of lose your passion sometimes when it gets a little crazy. So I decided to take a break. I do stream tomorrow. So tomorrow I am doing pork schnitzels. So we're gonna get to pound that out on stream. That's gonna be fun. With a nice white wine cream sauce, because it's Thirsty Thursday, so we always cook with alcohol. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And then we're gonna just do some nice mushrooms tomorrow with our pork and some chili roasted broccoli. Get some nice char on there. How long have you been streaming so far? The mount, I ordered it off of Amazon. Do you remember what the company was called, Sam? No? I think I still bought. It's called LS Photography. Try and get that closer. And it's just a clamp clip holder. How much was it? Sam? Okay. I think it was definitely like less than $30 though. Really affordable. And super handy to have that second camera over the stove. I'm really happy I did that. Yeah, I was thinking about doing that at first, but then I waited. I wanted to make it right. And plus I didn't want to get in trouble if the tape like left the residue on the top part. Although I'm sure you could get it off pretty easily with like rubbing alcohol or something like that. I think I'm gonna get another little taste on our broth here, see if it changed at all. And then I'm gonna pull the chicken out and start seasoning our broth because there are no salt or anything in it yet. There you go, name chef. There is the link. That's super good. I really want to put the miso in, so I'm going there. Chicken is gonna come out, and to finish it off, oh shoot. To finish off the chicken, I think I'm gonna roast it at a super low temp, so let's say 325 Fahrenheit until it's done. So you'll look for like 160 Fahrenheit on your thermometer. That way it'll come out really nice and tender. I did go to culinary school 7 years ago, crazy enough to say. I went to a school called NATE in Alberta. The program was 2 years and I crushed it, graduated with honors, and that's pretty much when I knew that I wanted to keep cooking. Called NATE. So, Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. So, first thing going in is our miso. I am not going to put all of this at once though. Start with a little bit at a time. Awesome. Yay for chefs. It kind of blows my mind now how many like people call themselves chefs but have never actually gone to school. That might be why like the wage is so low for our trade. I don't know. And I'm just gonna grab a whisk here to whisk everything in. That looks creamier already. And next thing I'm going to season it with is some Chinese cooking wine, also known as mirin, if you're ever looking for it in the grocery store. So it has a really low alcohol point. So it's 9.5%. And then it usually is a little bit sweet as well. Right? Like, can't even sustain yourself on like $14 an hour. It's crazy. That's why I left Vancouver. It's just not fair. I'm not gonna measure this, but I think I'll put in about half a cup. And then I also have some sake here. So that'll give a nice little bite to it as well. That's what Chang uses to season his ramen, so I'm gonna trust him on this one. Just like a little splash at first. I'm gonna whisk this up again and give it a try. And then at this point I'll see how much soy sauce I need to add. Smells really good though. Right? Like, it does not make sense. Where are you located? Sweet. Have you been to Noodle Bar yet then? Or Momofuku? That's somewhere I've never been yet, but I really, really want to go. Yum. This is getting really good, guys. So our broth is not salty at all yet. So I know I can add a little bit more miso for more depth. And then I'm gonna start to add our soy sauce. Yeah, the larger part. Getting creamy. I actually have heard of that, but I'm gonna go look it up after. So I don't really know where it is. We're getting our umami in there. I'm going to actually measure this soy sauce just to help you guys out. Let's start with 1/8 of a cup. You can definitely see the layer of fat though building up on the top of the ramen now. It's perfect. Just starting my oven for the chicken. So I think I'm gonna add, honestly, I can add the rest of this miso. It's not super overpowering. I just didn't want to like wreck my broth by putting it all in at once and then having to water it back down. That would be really sad. So at this point, you can definitely tell how close of attention these ramen shops pay to their broth. Because they always have to taste the same, but your ingredients always change. Like just a little bit, they don't always have to be the same. So kudos to them for keeping their broths consistent all the time. I think I'm there. Maybe like a touch more sake. But it is perfectly seasoned at this point. Really, really good. So I think I added, let's go over it, about a cup of miso, 1/8 of a cup of soy sauce, 1/2 a cup of the mirin. Yeah, it's been doing that lately. I don't know why it's being funny. Some days it's really good and other days it's bad. Sorry, everyone. Sake is just gonna go. Yeah, let's blame the Canadian internet. I'm gonna do it. Okay, so noodles take 4 minutes. So I'm not gonna do them quite yet. Just waiting on one more person to arrive and then I can assemble. But I am gonna put this chicken in the oven and set, let's say a 20-minute timer. And we can just let that broth keep simmering away. It's just gonna concentrate and flavor more, and that's not a bad thing. I would say this broth today is probably most similar to a tonkatsu broth. And you know what I can do is take out an egg and we can cut one together. See how much marinade we got on it. So I'm super excited to see that. Yes. I'm gonna do one that was like a little bit beat up. So I want to use the really nice one so that I can take a photo after. So you see that part, you know, like the albumin from the shell, that was still on there. So that's why that didn't get colored properly. So always make sure you peel your eggs proper. Okay, awesome. I'll for sure check you out. Thanks for stopping by. And have a wonderful stream. I'll give you a follow after this as well. So, before you go though, I'll do this for us. Custard. Yum. Got like really nice soy color on the outside, and then our yolk is really nice and custardy still. So all of that is gonna make your broth a lot more rich. Super happy about how that turned out. That was also really easy to do. The key is to just not overcook your eggs when you boil them. That's all. I mean, I guess if you like your yolks hard, then that's fine too. Because some places serve hard-boiled eggs with their ramen. That's kind of what I like about ramen, is that like everyone has their own flavors and spin on the dish. And there's so many different options to top it with. Right? Yum, you worked in a barbecue joint? We have a big green egg, just so you know. That was just for my chicken, which is in. We're good to go. And I think I'm gonna start doing my noodles. So this said 4 minutes. So let's see how long it actually takes. And can I fit all of them in there at once? And I'm just gonna grab a little strainer, aka a spider, as it's called in the kitchen. The spider. There we go. Those all fit in. Maybe I'll turn it up a bit. And I'm gonna lay all of my bowls out. And get all of my garnishes ready, because we're close. I really like these noodles because they stay firm when you cook them. They don't just fall apart. Mm-hmm. I also like how they kind of stay in their little square shape even once they're cooked. Makes it really easy to take out of the pot without them all just escaping into the broth. Seems like it's falling apart a bit, so I just want to try a couple of noodles here before I pull them all out. It's still a little bit hard, so a couple more minutes. But you also don't want to make them too soft because we're still pouring hot broth over it. If you need to, you can just break up the noodles as well. They'll probably cook faster that way. Almost there. Who's excited to make schnitzel tomorrow? I have 3 people here that put their hands up. Oh, Dog the chef. What's up? Get over here, little dude. I think we're good. So they're still a little bit al dente, but since I'm gonna pour the hot broth over, I think this is the perfect time to take it out.
Oh, that's real shitty.
So the pot is off. And what time do we have? I said this would take 3 hours. So I did this in 2.5. And the broth is still really awesome. Like, I'm impressed with how much flavor we got into it already. Now you can just spoon your noodles into the bowl. Pass. That looks like about 1 portion. But I'm gonna take all of the noodles out right now because I don't want them to get overcooked as I plate the one bowl for you guys to see. What do we got left in here? Okay. That's good enough. Good
So
enough.
it took 22 years to finish.
So now I'm just gonna ladle some broth over. Obviously you can go back for more if you feel like you run out as you're eating. But I'm really happy with how the color has turned out. It's legit. Clean up my cutting board a bit. Go. First thing I'm gonna put in is the corn so that can get heated up while I keep plating the other stuff in there. And ramen shops always keep all of their garnishes separate, which I really like. And then you can leave it separate if you want as you eat it, or just mix it in all together. Next thing is the kombu, or the kelp. So you'll see how that's gonna soak up the broth right away and soften up. It's gonna get quite large, so you don't need a lot. Let's do our crispy pork first. That's what we got. And then our charred leeks. Let's put it on the other side over here, not right beside our seaweed. And then I'll bring our egg over and kind of just put a little slice in it so you can see the yolk, but you don't want it to go everywhere right away, like so. And then next thing I'm gonna do is a couple of sesame seeds over here, some red chili flakes. These are the Asian kind, so it's called gochugaru if you're ever looking for it, and they're just a little bit more mild in flavor. And then last thing is our garlic chips, which I like to just put all over. And that's it, my friends. That's a ramen from scratch. That is definitely a bowl full of wellness. And I would recommend making it if you're feeling under the weather, for sure. It would bring you back to life. Go a little bit over this way. Where's my camera? Boom. Does it look good, guys? And that is ramen made in 2.5 hours, not like 2 days. So if anyone wants this recipe, feel free to send me a message and I can send that your way. It's super simple. And I already have it written up, so all I would have to do is type it and send it over. Hope you all enjoyed the stream today, and thank you for joining me and cooking with Kate again. Everyone have a great night, and hopefully see you tomorrow. I'm doing pork schnitzel with a white wine sauce and some mushrooms and crispy crispy chili broccoli. No problem, Flexard. Glad you enjoyed it. Now I'm gonna go feast. Bye, guys.